sounds like ancient.
Yeah, going through my mental Rolodex of the United States Senate, Jordan, none of these three, none of those three have been there for quite a while. You know, Joe Biden might be the same for the last 4 years, but essentially everybody else has turned over, including these three. Jordan, but look, I mean, maybe this is why he said he hasn't had time to go down to the border because of all of the other crises going on. Look, I don't want to be, mean about it, but this has been a problem, Jordan, since the very early days of his administration. So if this was going to be a problem, I'm sure he could have worked with those three individuals. There are 100 senators sitting right now to address this problem. And by the way, there's a bill they can do. Senator Blackburn has a bill to reinstate statutorily the migrant protection protocols. I would suggest maybe that's where he start with existing sitting members of the United States Senate.
It's so important we should do migrant protection protocols. We're trying to help. We don't want to create humanitarian crises in tent cities at our border, especially during a pandemic. You think under a pandemic they would be like down there rushing everybody into tents with gloves and PPE, but no. A lot of them are not even being tested. We'll be right back. 1 second.
Okay, some good news. During challenging times for everybody, and this can really help. You may know hundreds of thousands of people have already made the switch to MediShare, which is the affordable alternative to health insurance. And with so many people looking at how they pay for healthcare right now, seeing premiums going up or the cost of COBRA plans, MediShare has a special offer, and a lot of people are taking advantage of it. Simply apply by October 30th, and they will waive your new member fee. That's $170 savings. And of course, that's just the start. The typical family saves $500 a month after making the switch. MediShare is a Christian community that has shared over $4 billion in medical bills, and it's worked beautifully for decades. I'll give you a number here in a second, and if you call, you can get a price within 2 minutes. Just tell them the promo code SHARE to get your additional savings. Here it is, called 844-57-BIBLE. That's 844-57-BIBLE, 844-57-BIBLE. Health that's never been so timely.
Hi, my name is Mark. A few short years ago, my wife and I found ourselves in a desperate financial situation. The home-based business we had put our heart and soul into had misled us. With less than $1,000 in our savings and a new home under construction, we reached out to an acquaintance who introduced us to a new business concept that actually works.
With so many working from home and looking for ways to stay healthy, we offer real health solutions backed by human clinical studies. For just taking a look, you'll receive 2 free gifts. A quick reference featuring real health solutions and an extraordinary product that outperforms the leading national competitor. Over 100 million units sold and counting. Call us at 1-800-681-1488. There's no catch, no risk, and no sales experience required. So if you're serious about improving your physical and financial health and want to receive your 2 free gifts, call us at 1-800-681-1488. You have nothing to lose, but possibly everything to gain. That's 1-800-681-1488.
Trying to go back to the phone to make sure that people are holding on. So we're going to go to first Jose in Wisconsin on line 1. Hey Jose, welcome to Seculo. You're on the air. That it doesn't look like it's going to work. So what we'll do is, again, we have Dan on and Rob on. Just tell them guys it doesn't like we can get them on the air today unless we're having an issue there. We'll figure that out for tomorrow. Let's move on. I don't want to get too distracted there. But on this issue specifically, there was something I did want to mention before we get back into immigration, and that is the one thing President Biden is going around touting is infrastructure, reconciliation, and there was this news yesterday. Well, Joe Manchin, he signed some agreement in principle. Has that been any further? I just want to update our listening audience about this because there's massive spending going on at the IRS side of it. Has anything changed?
Yeah, I don't think principally anything has changed, Jordan. I mean, look, this is a continuation of something that we saw a few months ago when Joe Manchin signed some sort of agreement with Leader Schumer about what the framework of this would look like. Apparently, he has made some other agreements behind closed doors. It's a little bit hard to put flesh on this, Jordan, because, all of it is interpreted by different people involved in the negotiations, and President Biden is actually meeting mostly individually with different members of the faction. So he's meeting with Joe Manchin. Manchin, then he's meeting with Kirsten Sinema, then he's meeting with the progressives, and then they all come out and they say something a little bit different. The best we can tell, Jordan, here's where Joe Manchin is at on it. He's saying that he still wants a reconciliation package that is priced at $1.5 trillion. He does have a fairly long list of things that he says he will not support. Things like expansion of paid family leave or expansion of Medicare to cover vision or health or some other tangentials. Jordan, he doesn't want the Hyde Amendment to be in there. Now, I will say, I was a little bit concerned that he came out and said, I will support, however, a new tax on unrealized gains. We don't want to go too far down that rabbit trail, Jordan, but that would be a pretty dangerous move from Joe Manchin, because if you're going to tax unrealized gains before you take them, but you're not going to allow write-offs of unrealized losses, Jordan, that's going to really stifle capital investment in our economy. So that was one troubling thing he said. But look, all of that is really noise, Jordan, until Democrats in Washington, D.C. come out from behind closed doors and say, not only do we have an agreement, but here it is. Jordan, until they give it to us, until we can look at the writing and both the progressives and Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema say, yes, that's what we're behind, I think this is all a fig leaf, Jordan. So I still think that maybe they can get there, but they can all come out and say whatever they want. Until they give us a piece of paper with a deal written in legislative form on it, it doesn't mean a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, Harry, to me, the issue, and why I brought up the issue, I wanted to update people on that, because every day they try to put something out like it's coming and they've got more agreement. But what I've seen is that they try to use that issue, this one single issue, as the reason why they're not handling any of the other issues. But we have an entire Department of Homeland Security that focus on the border. We have a military that could have done the Afghanistan withdrawal better. We have a diplomatic force that should have been a lot more prepared for what was going on in Sudan. We talked about that with Rick Brunel. We talked about these just letting the world kind of receive the influence by Russia, Iran, and China, and Syria with the Assad regime. Now, he has a huge government. They can handle all this. It's not like walk and chew gum at the same time. He's got lots of people who are and huge bureaucracies behind it. But they won't tackle these problems. They will not. They've got their line. They're sticking to it.
I think you're absolutely correct. And so what we are now witnessing is the unraveling of an unserious administration. So this particular administration has been absent without leave in Afghanistan. It's been absent without leave at the border. It's been absent without leave with respect to the transportation crisis. We have lots of tankers off the coast of California. They cannot unload. The ports are unavailable. And the transportation secretary of the United States is missing in action. So I think at the end of the day, when Jen Psaki claims that Joe Biden is well versed in border issues, this statement is an indictment of Joe Biden. After all, the Biden administration has deliberately created a national security and humanitarian crisis at the border. And when called to account, Jen Psaki states that Joe Biden has driven by the border in 2008. And then she doubles down by doing what? Blaming the Trump administration. This is acting like a juvenile. Biden keeps acting like a 3-year-old president. And so one of the things that we really need, one of the things that the American people need, is that they need an adult administration in the White House. They need someone who is willing to tackle the crises that are at hand rather than blaming past administrations. Lastly, I will point out, if they keep going down this track, they are going to start blaming the border crisis on Abraham Lincoln.
Well, I mean, it was inherited from Trump, and then every year from the year away from that. I mean, it was a crisis being managed. were managed well. They were anything that was actually preventing war from being done there was being done by Democrats who were preventing more funding to the border wall and taking it more seriously. And this is another class of Joe Biden. He talks about, he almost says he plans to go down in his body, but then he shifts to, well, his wife's been there. First Lady's been there. I don't know if she was there as First Lady, Second Lady, or sometime in between. He doesn't give us that, but he does explain what it was like for her to visit the border and some of the pictures he's seen on TV. I love it.
I plan on, now my wife Jill has been down. She's been on both sides of the river. She's seen the circumstances there. She's looked into those places. You notice you're not seeing a lot of pictures of kids lying on top of one another with, looks like tarps on top of them.
Well, that's because they had that tent city created. There was so much pressure there, they went in and cleaned it out, and they put those people on airplanes, and someone showed up in Westchester, New York at 4 a.m. last week. I mean, and to me, it's again, he almost says when his staff tells him, don't say, I've planned to go, which would be the right thing to say, right? And then they would have to plan it. And then he puts on his wife. He puts on, again, someone who's not an elected official. And, he first puts on the vice president. She's not into she doesn't have any interest in this issue, more than she has to deal with it. So now he's going to get to Jill.
Well, I mean, Kamala Harris has been a disaster as the border czar. She was the one that was supposed to go down to the Northern Triangle, and she comes back and says, well, the problem is we don't have climate resilience, whatever that means, and that's what's causing the problem, climate resilience. So Kamala Harris is no good at any of this stuff. So then he said, Jill Biden is his wife. She's been there, and she's been on both sides of the river. I suppose that's the Rio Grande River. And she's looked, and you don't see, and then he jumped from that to you don't see a lot of kids lying on top of one, with like tarps on top of them.
Yeah.
He was stuttering, and that wasn't me stuttering and bumbling, by the way. I was reading off. I was trying to read the transcript. That wasn't me doing that. That was me trying to read what the President of the United States was blunderingly trying to elicit because he can't even talk anymore. But when you take these people and they're coming into the country illegally, and then you're putting them, like Joe Jordan said, Westchester County and so forth, I wonder what it would be like and how they would feel if we relocated some of these migrants to Bangor, Maine, Burlington, Vermont, Cape Cod, put them in Cambridge, Mass, put them in Martha's Vineyard. Let's put them in some cities so they can really feel the pain of what it's like for police protection, okay, from health, for